I'm Naomi Carter. 2 years ago, I stood alone in the snow, pregnant, kicked out like a stranger by the man I loved. I lost everything: my job, my dignity, even one of my babies. But I didn't break. And today, I'm the woman who brought down his entire empire, piece by piece, dream by dream, lie by lie.
Before I share my full story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've ever had to fight for your family.
The snow was falling harder than I'd ever seen it in Denver when Donovan finally showed his true face. 9 months of stolen kisses in empty hallways, whispered promises over morning coffee, and now here I stood in his marble foyer, my hand trembling on my belly. Pregnant? His voice cracked like ice underfoot. I nodded, searching his gray eyes for the man who'd held me just last week, who'd sworn he'd leave her, who'd traced hearts on my palm during board meetings I wasn't supposed to attend. The front door slammed. Victoria Langston stood there in her fur coat, snowflakes melting on her blonde hair like tiny diamonds. Her gaze swept from her husband to me, the black girl who organized their parties, who knew which wine went with which course, who'd been stupid enough to believe a rich man's promises. "What's this?" Victoria's voice could have frozen hell. Donovan's transformation was instant. His shoulders squared, his jaw set. "This employee has been making advances. Now she claims she's pregnant, trying to extort money from us." The words hit me harder than any physical blow. I opened my mouth, but no sound came. My phone, with his texts, his voicemails, sat upstairs in my quarters, evidence I'd never retrieve. "You lying," I started, but Victoria cut me off. "Get out." She pulled out her phone. "Security will escort you. Take nothing but your coat." 20 minutes later, I stood in the parking lot with my thin jacket and worn purse, watching my breath cloud in the freezing air. My car, sold last month to help Mom with her chemo bills, was a ghost in my memory. The nearest bus stop was 2 miles away. I walked, each step crunching in fresh snow. My phone buzzed, a text from the Langston family lawyer. Any attempt to contact the family or spread false allegations would result in legal action. The cramps started at the bus stop, sharp, twisting pain that doubled me over. By the time I reached the emergency room, blood had soaked through my jeans. The nurse's eyes were kind as she helped me to a bed. "How far along?" 11 weeks. With twins. The ultrasound tech had shown me just last week. 2 tiny hearts beating in rhythm. The doctor spoke gently about spontaneous miscarriage and nothing you did wrong, but I barely heard her. 1 baby was gone. The monitor showed a single heartbeat now, steady but alone. I made a decision in that sterile room, surrounded by the beeping of machines and the smell of antiseptic. When the nurse asked if I had anyone to call, I shook my head. When she updated my file, I told her both babies were gone. Let Donovan think he'd destroyed everything. Let him sleep easy in his mansion while I bled in a hospital bed. My remaining child would never be a Langston. Would never be fought over in court by lawyers who'd paint me as a gold digger, a home wrecker, a desperate black woman trying to trap a wealthy white man. This baby was mine alone, and I'd protect it with my last breath. Living in a 1997 Honda Civic teaches you things they don't cover in finance courses, like how to position yourself for maximum warmth when the temperature drops below freezing, how to wash yourself with baby wipes in gas station bathrooms, how to make a jar of peanut butter last 5 days. 3 weeks after leaving the hospital, I'd applied to 47 jobs. My phone, now disconnected for non-payment, had become a useless weight in my purse. The Langstons' reach was longer than I'd imagined. Every interview ended the same way, enthusiastic until they checked my references, then suddenly the position was filled. "Sorry, honey," the manager at a downtown diner said, not meeting my eyes. "Just got word we're on a hiring freeze." Behind her, a help wanted sign glowed in neon. My belly grew rounder as my body grew thinner. The pregnancy cravings were cruel jokes, yearning for fresh fruit when I could barely afford day-old bread. At a food bank, a volunteer noticed my condition and slipped me extra prenatal vitamins. I cried in my car afterward, overwhelmed by the small kindness. That's where I met Miriam. She knocked on my window at a rest stop where I'd parked for the night, gray-haired, wearing layers of mismatched clothing, pushing a shopping cart that rattled with collected cans. "You okay in there, baby girl?" Something in her voice, maternal, knowing, made me roll down the window. "I'm fine," I lied. She studied me with sharp brown eyes. "Uh-huh, when's the last time you ate something hot?" She shared her campfire that night, teaching me which rest stops had security who'd look the other way, which churches served meals without sermons, which libraries had the cleanest bathrooms. Miriam had been a civil rights lawyer once, before mental illness and medical bills took everything. "The system's designed to keep us down," she said, stirring beans in a dented pot. "But information is power. You recording everything?" I shook my head. "Start now. Every threat, every denial, every dirty trick. They think you're beaten? Good. Let them think that while you build your case." She taught me about single-party consent laws in Colorado, how to file EEOC complaints, which journalists covered corporate corruption. My phone was dead, but I started keeping detailed notes in a water-stained notebook, documenting dates, times, names. Donovan called once from a blocked number. I'd borrowed a phone at the library to check on Mom, and somehow he'd gotten the temporary number. "I heard you lost the baby," he said, voice careful. "I'm sorry for how things ended. Perhaps we could discuss a small severance." I hit record on the library's ancient computer, praying the old software would work. "Which baby?" I asked quietly. Silence. Then, "What do you mean?" "Nothing. What kind of severance?" $5,000, cash. But you sign an NDA, never contact us again." $5,000? For my silence, my pain, my child's future. I thought of Miriam's words. "Let them think you're beaten." $10,000, I said, "and I want it in writing that you're the father." He laughed, ugly and sharp. "You're in no position to negotiate. Take the 5 or get nothing." "I'll take nothing then. You'll regret this. I'll make sure you never work in this city again. You'll end up turning tricks under a bridge before I'm done with you." The recording saved, evidence folder, file number 1. "Goodbye, Donovan." I hung up and rubbed my belly, feeling the butterfly flutter of movement. We'd survive this. Somehow. The parking lot at King Soopers swam in and out of focus. I'd been stretching $20 for a week, and the prenatal vitamins on an empty stomach had finally caught up with me. The concrete rushed up to meet my knees, cold seeping through my worn jeans. Ma'am, can you hear me?" The voice was warm, concerned. Hands steadied my shoulders, gentle but firm. I blinked up at a face framed by dark curls and worried brown eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "I'm fine," I mumbled, trying to stand. The world tilted. "You're not fine. When's the last time you ate?" Pride warred with desperation. "This morning." "What did you eat?" Silence stretched between us. He sighed, helping me to my feet. "My name's Elijah Drake. There's a medical center 2 blocks away. I'm taking you there. I can't afford. It's free. I fund it." No arrogance in the statement, just fact. "Can you walk, or should I call an ambulance?" We walked. He kept one hand on my elbow, matching my unsteady pace. The center was small but modern, tucked between a nail salon and a tax office. The receptionist knew him by name. Dr. Patel was kind but direct. "Malnutrition, dehydration. You're putting your baby at risk." "I'm trying," I whispered, tears threatening. Elijah had waited. When I emerged with IV fluids and a bag of protein shakes, he was reading something on his phone, brow furrowed. "Nova Reach quarterly reports," he said, catching my glance. "Boring stuff. You need a ride somewhere?" "My car's at the store." We drove in silence. Then, "You're educated. I can tell by how you speak, how you observe everything. What happened?" The question should have offended me. Instead, exhaustion made me honest. "I trusted the wrong person. Lost my job. Can't get another one." "Why not?" "Powerful ex-employer. Bad references." He pulled into the lot next to my beat-up Civic. His Prius, modest for someone who funded medical centers, looked like a luxury car in comparison. "I run a tech company. We're always looking for smart people. Operations, mainly. Nothing glamorous. Scheduling, logistics, keeping engineers from killing each other over coffee supplies." "You don't know anything about me. I know you're 7 months pregnant and sleeping in your car in January. I know you're too proud to beg but too smart to give up. That's enough for a trial basis." He handed me a business card. Elijah Drake, CEO, Nova Reach Technologies. "The job pays $60,000 to start. Health insurance kicks in immediately. We have on-site childcare for after the baby comes. Think about it." He drove away before I could respond. I sat in my car, staring at the card. It could be another trap. Another powerful man with promises. But what choice did I have? The next morning, I called from the library. A cheerful HR person scheduled an interview for that afternoon. I wore my least wrinkled shirt, hoping the coat would hide the rest. Elijah's office was chaos. Whiteboards covered in equations, computer parts scattered on every surface, a coffee maker that looked like it belonged in a science lab. "Sorry about the mess," he said, clearing papers from a chair. "So tell me about your experience with operations management." For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. I talked about streamlining the Langstons' household staff, coordinating events for 500 guests, managing million-dollar budgets. "Why did you leave?" he asked. "Personal conflict with the family. I'd prefer not to elaborate." He studied me for a long moment. "Fair enough. Can you start Monday?" "That's it? No reference check?" "I trust my instincts. Plus," he smiled, "anyone sleeping in their car to protect their unborn child has the kind of determination I want on my team." Hope, that dangerous thing, bloomed in my chest. Levi arrived during a spring thunderstorm, screaming and perfect. Elijah drove me to the hospital when my water broke at the office, stayed through 14 hours of labor because I had no one else. "You don't have to be here," I told him between contractions. "Someone should be. Simple as that." When the nurse asked about the father for the birth certificate, I said, "Unknown." Elijah squeezed my hand but said nothing. 6 weeks later, I was back at work with Levi in the company nursery. Novareach was nothing like the Langston Corporation. Brilliant chaos instead of cold efficiency. I thrived in it, creating systems from disorder, turning Elijah's visionary ideas into actionable plans. "You saved us $3 million on server costs," he told me after I renegotiated our contracts. "How?" "The vendors were overcharging because tech bros don't read fine print." I adjusted Levi on my hip. "I read everything," he laughed, reaching out to let Levi grab his finger. "Remind me to give you a raise." We worked late most nights, Levi sleeping in his portable crib while we mapped out strategies for the renewable energy market. Elijah taught me about sustainable technology. I taught him about human systems. Somewhere between spreadsheets and coffee runs, we became friends, then partners in a different sense. "I want to destroy Langston Core," I said one night, exhausted from a board meeting where Donovan's company had been mentioned. "Is that wrong?" Elijah looked up from his laptop. "They're vulnerable. EPA violations, labor disputes, a few strategic moves. You'd help me?" "Naomi, they're already my competition. But this seems personal for you." I almost told him then. About Donovan, about the snow, about the blood on hospital sheets. Instead, I said, "They destroy people. Someone should stop them." He nodded slowly. "Then we will." We started small. Anonymous tips to environmental journalists about Langston's fracking violations. Leaked documents showing wage theft at their subsidiaries. I used everything Miriam had taught me about working the system, everything I'd learned about the Langston's operations. My position at Novareach grew. Operations manager became director of strategic planning. My photo appeared in tech magazines. The woman behind Novareach's revolutionary efficiency. Donovan must have seen them, must have recognized the girl he'd thrown into the snow, now sitting in boardrooms he couldn't enter. The day Levi took his first steps, Elijah was there, cheering louder than me. That night, after Levi was asleep, Elijah found me crying in the kitchen. "What's wrong?" "He walked to you first," I said. "His first steps were to you." "Naomi," he pulled me into a hug. "I'm not trying to replace anyone, You're not replacing anyone." I pulled back to look at him. "You're the only father he's ever known." Something shifted in his eyes. "Naomi, I need to tell you something. About Victoria Langston, Donovan's wife. We dated in college, before she met him. She left me for someone with better prospects." He laughed bitterly. "Guess I wasn't rich enough then." The cosmic irony wasn't lost on me. "And now?" "Now I realize she did me a favor." His hand found mine. "I wouldn't have met you otherwise." A week later, an unexpected email arrived from someone inside Langston Core, offering insider information. They'd seen my strategic moves, admired my subtle warfare. They wanted Donovan gone too. "Could be a trap," Elijah warned. "Could be," I agreed, "but I'm not the same scared girl in the snow anymore." I arranged the meeting. Time to turn up the heat. The ballroom at the Denver Convention Center glittered with renewable energies elite. I smoothed my emerald dress, designer, though I'd bought it secondhand, and checked my reflection. The woman staring back looked nothing like the girl who'd slept in a Honda Civic 2 years ago. Ready? Elijah appeared beside me, adjusting his tie. Always. We entered together, Nova Reach's power couple, though we'd carefully maintained professional boundaries despite the growing tension between us. Heads turned. Whispers followed. My transformation was complete, from invisible servant to industry influencer. Then I saw him. Donovan stood near the bar, his hair showing gray at the temples, his laugh too loud. Our eyes met across the room. His face went white, then red. He started toward us, but Victoria materialized at his elbow, gripping it hard enough to wrinkle his designer suit. Darling, she purred, but her eyes were on me. Let's mingle elsewhere. She knew, had always known. The announcement came during dinner. Nova Reach had secured the largest renewable energy contract in state history, beating out Langston Core. But that wasn't the killing blow. That came when the EPA announced their investigation into Langston's Wyoming operations. 3 anonymous whistleblowers had provided damning evidence. My phone buzzed with a text from my insider. Check the news tomorrow. Stock will tank. Donovan cornered me during the dessert course, while Elijah networked with investors. You vindictive bitch, he hissed, crowding me against a pillar. You think you've won? I'll tell everyone about us, about the baby you killed. Which baby? I kept my voice steady. And I have recordings, Donovan. Every threat, every bribe attempt, every admission of paternity. His face mottled. You're lying. Try me. Miss Carter? A photographer appeared. Could we get a photo for Tech Innovator Weekly? I smiled brilliantly, leaving Donovan sputtering in the shadows. The flash captured me mid-laugh, confident and untouchable. That photo would run with the headline, Nova Reach's secret weapon. The next morning, Langston Core stock plummeted 30%. Environmental violations, labor lawsuits, and a scathing expose about executive corruption sent investors fleeing. My network of contacts, journalists, activists, former employees, had done their work well. But the real shock came from an unexpected source. Victoria Langston sat in my office, her perfect facade cracked. I know about Levi. My hand moved instinctively to my phone, ready to call security. Relax. She looked older without her armor of makeup and jewelry. I'm here to make a deal. I don't make deals with, I have cancer. The words fell between us like stones. Stage 3, I've got maybe a year, and I want to watch my husband burn before I go. She slid a flash drive across my desk. Every offshore account, every bribe, every crime, enough to put him away for decades. Why? Because he destroyed you the same way he destroyed me. Young, hopeful, believing his promises. Her laugh was bitter. At least you were smart enough to get out early. I didn't have a choice. No, but you survived, and you're going to end him. She stood, swaying slightly. I was pregnant once too. His mistress before you. He made me get rid of it. Said it would complicate the prenup. She left before I could respond. The flash drive burned in my hand. The final weapon in a war I'd never wanted but couldn't afford to lose. That night, I told Elijah everything. About Donovan, about the pregnancy, about Levi's real father. He listened without interrupting, his face cycling through anger, sadness, and something deeper. I knew, he said finally. Not the details, but I knew there was history with the Langstons. And you still, I love you, Naomi. I love Levi. That doesn't change because of who contributed DNA. The fire was lit, now to watch it all burn. Marry me. Elijah's proposal came without warning, without roses or candlelight, just the two of us in his chaotic office, Levi asleep in his playpen, financial reports scattered between us showing Langston Core's death spiral. Elijah, I know you're not ready. I know you might never be ready, but I want you to know I'm all in. You, Levi, this life we've built. He pulled out a simple platinum band. Whenever you're ready, if you're ever ready. I stared at the ring, my heart hammering. Love meant vulnerability. Love meant trust. Love meant giving someone the power to destroy you. I'll think about it, I whispered. He smiled, pocketing the ring. That's more than I hoped for. The gala was 3 weeks later. Nova Reach's victory lap celebrating our market dominance. I should have been suspicious when security reported no issues. Should have noticed the missing guards by the service entrance. I was checking on Levi in the nursery when Donovan appeared. He looked haggard, desperate, a cornered animal with nothing left to lose. "Hello, Naomi." I moved instinctively toward Levi's crib, but Donovan was faster. He scooped up my sleeping son, who stirred and whimpered. "Don't scream," he said conversationally. "We're just going to take a little walk, have a chat about you destroying my life." "Put him down, Donovan." "My son." His laugh was unhinged. "My son that you kept from me. Did you think I wouldn't figure it out? The timing? The eyes?" Levi started crying, reaching for me. "Mama!" "Smart kid. Knows who feeds him." Donovan backed toward the door. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to transfer your Nova Reach shares to a shell company I control. You're going to recant every accusation. Then maybe, I'll let you see him again." "You're insane." "I'm ruined!" Spittle flew from his mouth. "Stock worthless, board coup, FBI investigating. You did this. You did this." I kept my voice calm, though terror clawed at my throat. "Every crime, every lie, every betrayal. You did this. Shut up!" He squeezed Levi tighter, making him wail. "We're leaving. Don't follow, or—" The door burst open. Not security. Elijah, wild-eyed and furious. "Let him go!" "The boyfriend," Donovan sneered. "Playing daddy to another man's child. Pathetic." Elijah stepped forward. Donovan stepped back, toward the window. "Stay there. I'll drop him, I swear." "No, you won't." Victoria stood in the doorway, skeletal in her designer dress. "You're many things, Donovan, but you're not a child killer. Bad for the family brand." "Vicky, you're supposed to be in Switzerland, the treatment—" I lied. She moved into the room with eerie calm. "Give Naomi her son." "Our son?" "Your bastard," she corrected. "One of many, though the only one you tried to kill before birth." In his shock, Donovan's grip loosened. I lunged, grabbing Levi and rolling away. Elijah tackled Donovan, pinning him as security finally arrived. "It's over," Victoria told her husband as they cuffed him. "The FBI has everything. 20 years to life, the lawyers say." She turned to me, already fading. "Take care of him, Levi. He's the only good thing to come from this mess." As they led Donovan away, he screamed threats and promises, alternating between rage and pleading. Levi clung to me, hiccuping against my shoulder. "Mama's here," I whispered. "You're safe. Mama's here." Elijah wrapped us both in his arms. "We all are." The Napa Valley sunset painted everything gold. The vineyard, the guests, Elijah's face as I walked toward him. Levi, now 3, scattered rose petals with chaotic enthusiasm, making the tech executives laugh. "You sure?" Miriam whispered, my unlikely maid of honor. She'd gotten clean, gone back to law, but kept the same sharp eyes. "Marriage is a contract, baby girl." "I'm sure." I was. The girl who'd stood in the snow, bleeding and betrayed, had died that night. The woman walking down this aisle had been forged in harder fires. Elijah's vows were simple. "You saved me from becoming another soulless tech bro. I promise to love you, support you, and never underestimate you. Also, I promise to keep teaching Levi soccer, even though he's terrible at it." The crowd laughed. I blinked back tears. "Elijah," I began, "you showed me that love doesn't demand suffering. That real strength is choosing gentleness. I promise to build our empire with you, to trust you with my scars, and to only occasionally reorganize your office without permission." "Thank God," he muttered, and even the officiant smiled. We kissed as husband and wife while Levi shouted, "That's my mama and daddy!" Never mind biology. Family was choice, and we'd chosen each other. The reception should have been perfect. Would have been, if I hadn't decided to drop one last bomb. "Before we toast," I said, taking the microphone, "I have an announcement. As of this morning, I've acquired 17% of Langston Core through various holdings, making me the largest individual shareholder." Gasps rippled through the crowd. In the back, board members frantically checked their phones. "Don't worry," I continued. "I'm not interested in running an oil company. I'm interested in dismantling one, piece by piece, converting assets to renewable energy, using the profits to fund environmental restoration." "The stock will tank," someone shouted. "Already has," I smiled. "Check the after-hours trading." Elijah raised his glass, eyes shining with pride. "To my wife, the corporate raider in couture." The rest of the reception was a blur of congratulations and veiled threats from Langston loyalists. Victoria, in a wheelchair now but still regal, kissed my cheek. Beautiful ceremony, she murmured. Donovan watched from prison. I made sure the news covered it extensively. Why? My final gift. She pressed an envelope into my hand. Read it later. Later was 3 a.m. Levi finally asleep in the hotel suite. Elijah passed out from champagne. I opened Victoria's letter. Naomi, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. The cancer is winning, but I chose my battlefield. Enclosed is my will. Everything goes to Levi. My shares, my properties, my jewelry. Let Donovan rot knowing his son inherited what he valued most. You asked why once. Because women like us, the ones they use and discard, we're the only ones who understand the cost. You paid in blood and dignity. I paid in decades of emptiness. But you rose. You won. And watching you destroy him while building something beautiful, worth every moment of this disease. Raise Levi to be better. The world needs more men like Elijah, fewer like Donovan. With respect and strange affection, Victoria Langston. The will was attached, notarized, and ironclad. My son would inherit an empire built on others' pain, and we'd transform it into something worthy. I crawled back into bed, curling against Elijah's warmth. Tomorrow would bring lawyers, battles, the dismantling of dynasties. Tonight, I was just a woman who'd survived the unsurvivable, holding the family she'd built from ashes. The fire beneath my silence had become an inferno of purpose, and I was just getting started. The system isn't broken, I told the Stanford Auditorium 5 years later. It's working exactly as designed. The question is, who's doing the designing? 300 business students leaned forward. My story had become Silicon Valley legend. The domestic worker who'd brought down an energy empire, rebuilt it green, and married the competition. They thought they knew the tale. They knew nothing of sleeping in cars, of choosing between prenatal vitamins and food, of learning to disappear from security cameras at rest stops. Real power, I continued, isn't about money or connections. It's about resilience, about getting up one more time than they knock you down. After the talk, a young black woman approached, nervous but determined. Ms. Drake, I'm in a situation similar to your early days. My boss, he's... She stopped, ashamed. I handed her my card. Call tomorrow. We'll talk. And remember, document everything. She left, clutching the card like a lifeline. There had been dozens like her over the years. My foundation officially focused on renewable energy education, but the Whisper Network knew we helped women escape powerful men's gravity. Good speech. Elijah waited by the car, Levi bouncing beside him in his soccer uniform. At 8, our son was all gangly limbs and endless questions. Mom, did you really live in a car? Levi asked for the 100th time. Yes, baby. Was I there too? You were. I smoothed his curls, Donovan's curls, though only I saw the resemblance anymore. Keeping me warm. Dad says you're the bravest person he knows. Elijah caught my eye, smiling. Dad, the title he'd earned through bedtime stories and scraped knees, math homework, and nightmare comfort. Donovan might have provided DNA, but Elijah had provided presence. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Donovan Langston request for early release denied. His third attempt. His last, if the prison reports about his declining health were accurate. Everything okay? Elijah asked. Perfect. But the universe had one last test. The envelope arrived at my office the next week, addressed in shaky handwriting. Inside, a single sheet. I want to see him. Once. Please. No signature needed. I'd wondered when this day would come. Your choice, Elijah said that night. But he's old enough to have opinions too. So I asked, explained, in age-appropriate terms, about the man whose choices had shaped our early story. Levi thought carefully, then shrugged. Okay, but can Dad come too? The federal prison was gray and grinding, exactly as I'd imagined. Donovan shuffled in, orange jumpsuit hanging on his diminished frame. His eyes found Levi immediately, hungry and desperate. You look like, he started. I look like my mom, Levi interrupted, scooting closer to me. She says I have her brain. And her courage, Elijah added quietly. Donovan's gaze finally found me. Naomi, you won. This was never about winning. Then what? Surviving, building, moving forward. I squeezed Levi's hand. Being better. We sat in silence. 20 minutes of a broken man memorizing a child who felt nothing for him, while the boy drew soccer plays on scratch paper. When the guard called time, Levi stood first. Bye, Mr. Langston. Not father, not Donovan. Mr. Langston, stranger, cautionary tale, closed chapter. Walking out, Levi slipped his hand into Elijah's. Dad, can we get ice cream? Always, buddy. I looked back once. Donovan sat alone, shoulders shaking. Then the door closed and we walked into sunshine. My husband, my son, my life built from ruins. The fire beneath my silence had become a beacon, lighting the way for others lost in their own winters, and it would burn eternal.
No matter how deep they try to bury you, remember, you are not soil, you are fire. Let every betrayal become your fuel. Stand tall, speak truth, and never let anyone define your worth. If you've ever been silenced, it's time to rise. Your story isn't over. It's just getting powerful. If this story moved you, share it. Someone out there needs to know they're not alone.